Before we dive into today's episode, I just want to make a quick but important note. Our goal for this show is to provide inspiration for every type of parent and business owner. We are looking for show guests who are a part of the LGBTQ community. If this is you or someone you know, please contact us at bringingupbusiness.com. Representation is important, and we would love to have you on and hear your perspective. Welcome to the Bringing Up Business podcast, where we talk about business and parenting. I'm your host, Kayla Sachet, owner of a creative and marketing agency called Umari Digital. Umari Digital helps small business owners with branding, websites, and marketing campaigns. I am also a toddler mom, and I am so excited to report to you that my kid can now officially catch a ball. He is 2 years and 3 months as of this recording date. And my husband and I have been practicing with him for the past few months. And now he can actually do the motion. He uses his fingertips to catch the ball. And his stoke, my stoke, it's so much fun. I don't know. I'm excited. Anyway, so today's guest, Dixie Willard, is on a mission to make home projects feel structured, smart, and totally doable so that her clients can focus on living and building their lives. Dixie is the founder of Poised and Plumb, where she helps interior designers, contractors, and homeowners bring structure, strategy, and confidence to renovation and new build projects. Her career didn't start in project strategy, though. It started with raising kids, supporting her husband through a 20-year military career, and learning to carve out a path that honored both her family and her ambitions. Once her children were grown, she stepped into large-scale residential design, led product strategy at a design tech startup, and ultimately launched her own business to help others navigate complex projects without all of the overwhelm. She's spoken at national industry conferences, co-hosted the Design and Style podcast, and recently wrapped up a 3-month road trip with her husband through 25 national parks. That's so cool. I have to ask you about that. But Dixie, okay, I'm excited to chat with you today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So first, okay, let's dive into your journey. I know it's been a windy one with lots of pivoting. It sounds like you've touched on mechanical engineering, mathematics, architecture, interior design, business, and motherhood. Okay.
Yep.
How? Tell us all the details. How does this work?
So my children, by the way, have already gone through all of those stages. My kids are 32 and 29. So I've been through all of the things. I know exactly. Yeah, catching a ball is important. I just want to put that out there.
It's so huge. It's so huge.
It is. So I started, obviously, a few years ago. There wasn't as much technology around. I was raised to think that I needed to be an engineer of some sort. My dad was one of those, you should always get straight A's. You should always use your brain as much as you can in these particular ways. And I might have rebelled a little bit at some points. But I did start going to school for mechanical engineering. And along the way, I also fell in love and got married and had a child. And my husband joined the military actually after we'd been married about not quite 2 years. For the first year or so, he was in Mississippi. I was in Georgia, which means that I know what it's like to have that child live by yourself. I was still trying to go to school and deal with all of that. Then we moved to Germany, where I couldn't go to school because none of the American colleges there had what I wanted. So I just took a break, stayed home with the kids. I had my second daughter while we were there. I did a lot of volunteer work, moved back to Oklahoma. This is a winding road, y'all. This is not going to be as straightforward. I'll try and get through it as quickly as possible.
No, it's okay.
Moved back to Oklahoma.
I think it's important to note that I would say almost 1% of all of the roads to get to where you are today are straightforward and direct. So a windy road is very normal. It's okay to talk about that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in Oklahoma, I was able to study math. I got my associate's degree just because it was a quick win for me. Then we got to go to Hawaii. And there we were stationed at Hickam Air Force Base, which is right there in Honolulu. The University of Hawaii is there, and I was really excited to finally, I am on my way. I start studying it and I realize I don't like it. I have finished my freshman and sophomore years at this point. I don't like it. It's not fun. So it really pushed me to decide what else I want to do. So I looked at the architecture because same concept. You're still building things. You're still piecing things together. You're designing them. It's giant puzzles. So not really a huge shift in terms of skills. But the architecture program there was not what I needed. It was very, very rigorous, which is great. You want your architect to have a rigorous academic background, but I still had 2 kids in elementary school. My husband was gone a lot. September 11th happened during all of this as well.
Ooh.
So I needed something more suited to staying at home, being there when my kids got home from school, being able to support them while my husband was gone, but also fulfill my needs.
Mhm.
So I did a little more research. And since I wasn't going to do architecture, interior design, I quickly discovered is more than just picking out paint colors and fluffing pillows. There are a lot of aspects to it that are very much like architecture, which really appealed to me. And so that's what I went with. Got my degree in interior design from the Chaminade University of Honolulu, and it was great. Immediately went to work for an architecture firm. So that's been the bulk of my journey. I've continued doing, whatever I needed to while my husband was gone. But once he retired, we kind of looked at each other and said, why are we still here? We were back in Oklahoma at this point, and Oklahoma is a wonderful state. We both like mountains and trees. And for those of you who don't know, there's not a lot of that in Oklahoma.
It's very flat
Just not.
from what I remember
So
as a kid
Yep.
visiting
Yep.
my uncle.
Very
Yeah,
flat,
very
very
flat.
few trees,
Yeah.
kind of the opposite of what really speaks to us. So we decided to just move to Tennessee. We didn't bring any furniture with us. We just left. And when I got here, I started an interior design firm and did that for quite a while. Did that for about 10 years.
When you decided that mechanical engineering wasn't for you, the whole mathematics
hmm
route wasn't for you, did did a part of yourself kind of feel like you were betraying your dad and your upbringing and what he taught you? Like, what was that like for you?
Absolutely. And I think one of the things I was most nervous about was at the time, not telling my husband what I wanted to do, but telling my father what I was going to do. And he actually said, so what are you going to take? Like coloring 101, which luckily fueled that rebellion again. No, it is so much more than that. I need to know building codes and I need to know, there's the space planning and understanding how rooms make you feel. It's not just color. Color is a part of it. Yes, I did take a color class, but they don't ask you anything about color on the national certification exam. Turns out that that's not what they're about. They're about things like making sure that things are safe, supporting safety and health and welfare, and not just color.
Yeah. Oh, I had a similar moment with my dad. So I come from a lineage of engineers. My grandpa was an engineer, and then my dad, he actually works for a subcontractor under NASA. So he works with rocket scientists, like really, really smart people. And I got through school, like the early school years, right? Your elementary, your middle, your high school, straight A's. Like I was on the straight and narrow in preparation for going into the same path.
Mhm.
I tested fantastically, surprisingly, for not studying, to be honest with you. Because I didn't
Same.
care to pass. I didn't care to get into the next thing. I just thought that was something that I should do, that I had to do. And then when I told my dad, okay, I actually don't want to get into this, I would rather go to art school. I watched the color drain from his face. But thankfully he was supportive. He's a very level-headed, calm person, and so he was able to hold space, which I'm always so forever grateful for. But I just remember that moment of breaking the news to him, just being like, this is gonna go either it's gonna go
It's
down.
hard, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's hard. It's hard. I felt like I was betraying him and my lineage and my ancestors and this whole I felt like the world was gonna explode. And I ended
Mhm.
up actually learning about color, which is so funny you bring that up. Like I took color theory and it's actually a lot deeper than people give it credit for. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So funny. Okay, so you decide to pivot into architecture and then pivot again into interior design. What fueled those decisions? Understanding you didn't want to do mechanical engineering, but what was the main allure of architecture and then again in interior design?
It's still building things. I get to design things a lot. I know I mentioned this a minute ago, that a lot of the same skills are there. I I love watching things get built, whether it is watching things in a factory, because I have done internships in factories and watching how all the pieces come together and the machine. I love that. When Mr. Rogers would show you on his picture, I think is what it was called, and it would change into video and you could go and see the video of how something got made. I loved those as a kid. I still love watching anything, any here's how it got built thing. And the same holds true for buildings. So it's still that here are all of these thousands and thousands of little pieces and decisions that you have to think about and figure out where they go. It's still the same concept.
Yeah.
And for me, it wasn't something that was a huge change skill wise, but emotionally. I don't know if you've noticed this, but people actually live in homes. And turns out I wanted to help people. So while the mechanical engineering, yeah, I would get to focus on machines, architecture and design. You get to focus on all of the same building things, but also the people and what makes them happy and
Yeah.
their needs that they may not even realize that they have.
Yeah.
So it actually fulfilled something just a little bit more
Yeah.
once I really got into it. And I just thrived. I loved it.
What did that thriving feel like in your body, in your essence? I feel like we can
Hmm.
tell when we're in alignment. And so what did that feel like
Hmm.
for you?
I just felt so drained emotionally constantly doing all of the mechanical engineering classes. Yes, I could do them, but it was boring. I didn't like it. I could do it, but I
Yeah.
didn't want to.
Yeah.
Whereas I loved going to class. I had no problem going to class for all of the interior design stuff. I love architecture. I don't think I mentioned this. My parents were in the military too, and I spent 10 years in Germany as a kid. So not only there with my husband, but also growing up and seeing all of the old buildings and how there's so many different styles and learning all of that. So it just so many layers that built upon each other. And in the interior design community, there's kind of this cliche of I should have known I was going to be a designer when I kept redesigning my Barbie's home to make it better. Most people don't think of that. I never would have before, but I did. I would move furniture around in my room to see at a certain age to see if I could make it better and make little, like, I'm going to have this little cubby and that little cubby. And when it came to my Barbies, oddly enough, I was not interested in making it prettier. I just had two bookcases that were little end tables actually that were stacked on top of each other. I was making things functional. I built them an elevator. I built them the washer and dryers. They could do their clothes. So I didn't care. I mean, I cared about the pretty, but not quite as much as I cared about wanting them to live in that house, my Barbies, to live well in their home. And you can't tell a story like that, really. Any interior design podcast, you're like, oh, yeah, whatever. Heard that a million times. But it's true.
It's true.
It's true. It was one of those things where I didn't know at the time, but it was there the whole time.
It's so funny you say that. So anybody who's listening, if you don't already know, I come from a graphic design background. That's what I ended up studying. As a kid, I did the exact same thing. I was constantly rearranging my space. I was actually also saving like hang tags and posters. And I had layers upon layers just stuck to my wall of all this different collateral that I was inspired by out in the world. And at the time I was like, man, I'm such a weirdo for keeping hang tags. Like, why am I doing this? But later on it made sense. Like, oh yeah, this is why I was doing that.
But I think it's a really good indicator that the things that you love when you're a child, if you're feeling stuck in life, go back to that. Think about what it was that truly just made you happy. How did
Mm,
you spend your time? What did you love to do? And look at that.
yeah.
So two of the things that I loved. So I loved all of that and playing school. I loved teaching. I thought I was going to become a teacher. All of those years later, well, when I worked for the startup, it's a interior design project management startup, got purchased last year, which is really exciting.
Wow.
But I was both an educator and the product manager for that company, and I got to teach, which lit me up because it's one of those things that when I was a kid, I always wanted to do it. So that for me, being able to do that, and I still do to some degree do that. I have plans for more, but it's taking everything that I loved as a kid and putting it together.
How beautiful is that? And I feel like that also speaks to how important it is for parents to allow their children the space to experiment, try new things. And if your kid says no to something, if they don't want to learn how to catch the dang ball, you don't have to force them to learn how to catch the dang ball. My kid actually was interested in it. So I'm nourishing that. But like we have to allow our children the experimentation of the trying of the new things so that they can figure out for themselves what is resonating, what's capturing their attention. They probably won't be able to put words to it in that way, but we can tell when our kids are lit up, when something is deeply involving their focus and practicing their little skill sets.
I would add one caveat to that, which is just know that just because you recognize something that lights them up, it may not eventually take the form that you're anticipating.
Interesting. Tell me more.
So all of the problem solving skills, all of the puzzles and word problems and things like that I loved as a kid, my dad looked at that and thought, engineer.
Mm.
I'm still doing puzzle pieces and making sure all of the problems are solved and things like that, but in a completely different way than he ever expected.
Interesting. So it's important for us to drop our expectations as parents and not not try to predict what our kids are going to do.
Mhm.
Interesting. So tell us more about what does that practically look like in giving your kids space to be able to flourish and try things? What does that look like?
Grew up in the very stereotypical Gen X type household where at a young age, younger than any of us would consider now, I was home babysitting my brothers. We didn't have a lot of structure to anything. All I had was my imagination, which let it flourish. As I mentioned, the Barbie house. Most little girls are going to want the pretty one with all of the things in it. I had one. I'm not even kidding. It was two end tables stacked on top of each other, and we just made it work. Kids learn through play and letting them play in all different kinds of ways, showing them that different things exist. That's where it really comes into play. One of the things I do now for my nieces and nephew is I have a Camp Dixie every summer where they all come. I've got a bunch of them. I think we had 10 nieces and nephews that came last week. And I have this theme, whatever it is, we have a theme, and we do not just STEM activities, but there's also art involved. So it's STEAM activities.
Mm.
And just so they can see all different kinds of things they may not see in their regular everyday lives. And it's all wrapped up in this realm of an imaginary world that I've come up with. Obviously, I'm still using that sense of imagination now. That hasn't gone away. But yeah, just share with your children, let them try different things. If they don't like piano, maybe accept that they're not going to like piano. My kids hated piano. Turns out, you know what they did like? They loved playing the French horn, both of them.
Really? That's
They
so
both
random.
played the French horn and learned the mellophone, which is sound-wise the same as the French horn for marching band. So as much as I thought, oh, I always wanted to know how to play piano. Here, you should play piano. They
Mm.
didn't like it. Neither one
Mm.
of them. Just try different things and just keep in mind that it may not be what you think it should look like, what your expectations are. Be open-minded and, just try and have joy in trying new things yourself. Show them how much fun it is to try things.
Mm. Oh, I love that. So instead of projecting our hopes and dreams onto them, you're saying we
Mhm.
maybe shouldn't do that because we're probably going to end up disappointed. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, are there things that they do still have to learn? Yes, your child has to learn how to be potty trained. That's
Mhm.
that's a non-negotiable. The timing may vary, but they kind of have to learn that.
Yeah.
Do they have to play t-ball? Not necessarily. If they don't like it, maybe they love soccer or gymnastics, or maybe they love art. Just open your heart when you're listening, because I
Yeah.
see it so often that parents don't.
Mm. Yeah, I'm hearing that there's a balance between providing them the platform to be able to learn the new thing. So enroll them in
Mhm.
T-ball, see if they like it. If they don't, take them back out. But also there is this issue going on right now with parents where we are overscheduling our children and we have them in too many activities and not giving them the flexibility of downtime, teaching them what it's like to feel bored and let their imaginations take over in that blank space. So it's an interesting balance, right? Giving them that structure, a little bit of
Mhm.
structure to try something new, but not too much structure to the point where they can't even breathe.
Yeah. Definitely encourage any of those hobbies. I have a nephew that you never would suspect loves chess,
Oh,
but he's 8 years old, 9 years old, 9 years old, and fell in love with chess at school last year. Has spent so much time asking his parents to let him watch different videos on YouTube about chess strategies. At Camp Dixie last week, he was teaching the other kids how to play chess.
well, I got
He
chills. That is so
Who would
cool.
thought? It's this random thing that popped up, and turns out he adores it.
So it's listening to our kids too and giving them the
Yeah.
tools that they need, the resources that they need to expound on
Mhm.
that interest. That's so beautiful. And now, a quick message from our sponsor. Looking for a smarter, more secure way to manage and protect construction or remodel funds? At BuildSafe Escrow, they offer simplified escrow and draw services tailored specifically for the construction industry, ensuring your funds are protected every step of the way. As a trusted neutral third party, they release funds only when agreed upon milestones are met, providing transparency, security, and peace of mind for everyone involved. Whether you're building from the ground up or renovating a single room, BuildSafe Escrow ensures every project moves forward with confidence and clarity. BuildSafe Escrow milestone payments, transparent processes, trusted results. Visit buildsafeescrow.com today and learn why milestone-based payments and escrow are the future of construction. Thank you for staying with us, and back to the show. So take us back to, you're going to school, you're working, your husband's in the military, you have kids at this point.
Mhm.
How was childcare at that time? Like, how did you balance all of that? That's a lot.
It was awful. It was so hard, and I think the worst of it was when I was in school there in Hawaii, the kids went to year-round school, so they would have these weird breaks
Mm.
where it was like a random, here's a week and a half or 2 weeks off, and trying to find childcare for that was super challenging. I don't think I ever mastered that. I usually ended up, my professors knew my children. My younger daughter got sick, and I had to stay home and take care of her for a few days. I think she had the flu.
Mm.
And she wrote the sweetest note to my professor saying, "Please excuse my mommy for being absent. She was taking care of me." And he wrote her a very nice note back. And that's part of it, just making sure you're in an environment that supports you. Could I have done that at UH? No. My mother-in-law had gotten very, very, very critically ill. And when I asked about the potential for taking, if I take time off to go and see her, because we're not sure she's going to make it, what happens to all of the classes? The response was, "Oh, well," basically. "You're just gonna miss you'll just, we don't." The University of Hawaii at the time told me that they did not have a plan for dealing with that sort of thing. They may now, But at the time, it was one of those things where I'm so worried that I'm going to have to take time off and fly from Hawaii to Georgia with my children in the middle of the school year.
Hmm.
It wasn't right. At the other college, no problem. It was smaller. You could talk to people. The professors knew, like I said, they knew my kids. I'm not saying I took them with me all the time, but there were a lot of times when I was able to take them with me, and I did. So for me, I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have done it without that because like I said, finding childcare was next to impossible. You can't find somebody to just watch your children for a week and a half.
Right. 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 I could barely get help for half a day when I need to go do something urgent. Like it's hard to
Mhm.
find that childcare and have that village. It sounds like there was a big structural difference, maybe policy difference between the two schools. And
Mhm.
so one was a lot more flexible, one just had no clue that personal lives even existed. Interesting. What do you think were the structural differences that supported that, maybe behind the scenes that you know of, other than just the awareness?
Part of it was, in general, a larger school. The University of Hawaii is huge. Within the mechanical engineering department, yes, my advisor cared a lot, but there was only so much he could do. At the other school, it was tiny. The the interior design department was very small. The college on its own was very small. It was also a Marianist, so it's a Catholic college, and they cared more about taking care of people fundamentally.
Mhm.
I don't want anybody to think that I'm saying University of Hawaii stinks. It doesn't. It's a really great school,
Yeah.
and there are people there who care a lot. But
Yeah.
for me at that time, keep in mind this is 20 years ago. At that time, it was not what I needed. I needed that community, and you see this in so many organizations where when they're smaller, they're more flexible, they're more able to adjust to change, whereas the bigger you get, the harder it is to do that because you need policies, you need procedures, you need all of that, and maybe you don't remember to take that into account.
Yeah.
I've seen it when I worked for the startup. That startup, very small. We were family. We were close. Was acquired by a larger company, and such a big difference in the way that everything was structured. I couldn't just do what I wanted. I had to talk to people first
Mhm.
because their policy, first of all, they didn't know me that well, but they had policies in place for every single little thing. Whereas all of that was in my head happening at the other job at the
Mm.
smaller company. It's very hard to find a larger company that is going to give you, or a larger school, or a larger anything that's going to give you what you need when you need flexibility.
Mhm. Mhm. It was so interesting for me to hear about the school differences and how they handled your situations because we're seeing that on a bigger level right now with simple things like maternity leave, paternity leave, overall family leave. And it's turning into a crisis. I mean, you have new parents who are totally lost, right? Becoming a new parent is
Mhm.
like a major identity crisis and a huge transition from one life to the next. And we have these new parents going back to work after only 2 weeks of leave. If that. If that. And that scares me. I think about the mental health toll that is taking on those new parents and how that's ripple affecting out into their circles and then into the broader community. So I think this is an important conversation to have. And, thank you for sharing your experience about what it was like within the schools. I could just picture if we have a parent or anybody trying to further their education so that they can further expand their lives and give back to community in a bigger way, we have to be able to support them, whatever they need. Hmm. So let's transition and talk about Poised and Plumb. Who are you serving? How are you helping them? I see you're lighting up. I know that you're in love with what you do and it's so cool. It's so inspiring. Tell us all the things.
Well, especially as parents, we all have that mental load we carry, right? You're making
Mhm.
sure everyone's got their lunch packed and the shoes are on the right feet and your kids have had their well child checkup. Did anybody make sure the car's oil got changed and the tires rotated? hey, I'm starting up this business and now I have to think about branding and bookkeeping and you're trying to make all of those decisions and remember all of the things that you have to remember
Yeah.
on limited sleep and hoping
Mhm.
that everybody involved is on the same page. I don't know about you, but I have a tendency at times, especially when I'm super busy, I forget to tell my husband things.
Mhm. Yep. Oh, yeah.
And he doesn't know. He's like, wait, what do you mean you're going to do blah, blah, blah? Or what do you mean we are having so and so over? Well, building or remodeling is pretty much exactly like that,
Mhm.
except you're building or remodeling. When you're building or remodeling a house, it comes with its own mental load. So
Yeah.
you didn't give up any of what you already had. Here's a great big another load. You're going to be managing the samples and the electricians and the back orders and 17,000 emails about cabinet hardware, tracking your decisions, schedules, deliveries, who's supposed to do what. And you still have the 10,000 decisions to make about what you want in this space,
Right.
what the paint color needs to be, what the hardware on the doors are, what you want for the door itself. And that's where I come in. Really, I am. If you've ever wished that somebody could just climb into your brain and scoop out that one little part so you didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
If only I didn't have to. I do that, but for those projects. I go in, I scoop out the part for those projects, and I say, don't worry, I've got this. I'm going to make sure that I make a plan for the entire project. We know what decisions have to be made and when. I make sure that somebody actually makes those decisions. And then I also handle a lot of the logistics and communication throughout. So I do this for homeowners. I do this a lot for interior designers because keeping track of all of those things is not something that they enjoy, but I oddly do. Same with builders. A lot of them, the contractors don't enjoy keeping track of all of that. Tend to do things like text the homeowner at, 8 a.m. on a Friday saying, hey, I need the decision on the door by tomorrow or by
Mm-mm.
the end of today. And the
No.
homeowner's like, what? What do
Yeah.
you mean? I prevent that from happening. I make sure everybody knows what to do and when, and then I'm also double checking to make sure that things aren't falling through the cracks. So I am your brain that you don't have to worry about.
Oh my gosh, I just have this visual of you with like 15 arms just spinning plates on every single finger.
Yep. Yep. Pretty much. Pretty much. But I love it. And it's something I've done for a long time. So I know. I already know what goes into it and I can do it quickly and easily. And I guarantee while you may be absolutely qualified and able to do it, do you really want to?
Mhm. Mhm.
That's the
Yep.
biggest thing. I
Yep.
know that not everybody has the capacity to do that. I'm not saying anybody is not talented enough to manage their own home project. I'm just saying you don't have to. You can give that up and have somebody else help you and make sure that all of the steps are taken along the way and you don't have to wonder, did I do that right?
Mhm. Mhm. Well, I can also picture too, someone has their own life, their own very full life to maintain
Mhm.
and live. And also there's a learning process with remodeling or building a new home. There's a whole lot of
Mhm.
newness with a huge learning curve, which, maybe for some people they do have some previous qualifications. The learning curve is a little bit smaller, but there's still a learning curve there. Does it make sense to learn a whole new set of skills for one project? I don't really see the ROI on that. And this is just my business brain going, is it worth that investment of my time and maybe even my
Exactly.
money too? Maybe you're spending more money with that learning curve because you don't know any better.
I'm not making the choices for you. So, you still get to choose what you like. I'm just saying, hey, we need to know. Here's the things we need to know. Let's check them off. Everything's checked off. Here you go, contractor. The contractor's not bugging you for decisions. If something pops up, you can say, hey, I don't understand what they're talking. I'm a great translator.
Mm,
I speak contractor and normal human being. So just making sure that it's easy. I am a project strategist. I'm a project planner. I'm a project facilitator so that you get what you want. Maybe you don't need to hire a designer. Maybe you do. I do still work with designers who need somebody to help them because they have all of that in their heads they're trying to juggle
yeah,
for multiple projects.
yeah.
Yeah. I make
That's
I make your life easy.
music to
If
my
you want to
ears.
go for it, absolutely go
Yeah,
for it. You have my blessing.
yeah.
But if you don't, hey, there is somebody who can help.
Are you specific to Tennessee or do you what is your service area? Who do you typically help?
My service area is if there is something in person that you need, which really there's not, then it would need to be in East Tennessee, but I will work with anybody across the US. Most of what I do is virtual.
Excellent. Excellent.
Almost
Cool.
all of what I do is virtual, if I'm being honest.
Well, isn't that the cool part of being in this day and age, especially with Zoom? I mean, you can handle so much more virtually. What's the point of spending the
Mhm.
gas and the extra time to go travel somewhere when you don't need to?
Yeah.
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 I
Let's
don't
be
need to
efficient.
drive over there. I can just, show me a video. Okay, great. We're done.
Yeah. We're on the same page. Easy peasy. Done. So, what is your dream for Poised and Plum? And then also, what is your dream for your kids and your family?
My dream for Poised and Plumb. I just want to be able to do what I love. I would love to be able to pass it on to my daughter someday. My daughters do like to joke that they grew up, going to school with me, so they know a lot. They don't claim to be designers, but one of them works as a virtual assistant for a designer, and the other one works for the company that I left recently. Still, she's worked there for probably 4 years. I'm gonna try. Shh, don't tell the company. I'm gonna try and pull her away and tuck her into my pocket and use her skills.
Well, we'll tell the company, make sure she is highly incentivized to stay. Make
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
But that I think is my dream. I love solving problems and continuing to do that and hoping to share it with them in the future.
So,
And if they decide they don't like it, that's okay because I want my
yeah.
kids to do what makes them happy.
Yes. Yeah. Oh. Well, that's what we've learned on today's episode. We don't push our kids into things. We help nourish what is interesting to them and what they want to do. So beautiful. Dixie, where can people find you?
They can find me over at poisedandplumb.com. Think of it as plumb like a plumb line or you're plumbing. There is a B on the end.
That silent, sneaky bee.
You can also find me on Instagram, Poised and Plumb. And if your house project is starting to feel more like a circus than a well-run show, hey, come find me.
Lovely. Thank you so much for what you do, and thank you for your time today. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. It has been my pleasure.
Thank you for joining us on Bringing Up Business. If you could, please take a moment to subscribe to and rate the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us on Instagram at bub.podcast. That's BUB.podcast. Finally, we'd love to get your feedback. If you have a comment or a guest idea, please let us know on our website, bringingupbusiness.com. Until next time, thanks for joining us. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Say bye-bye. See you later.
Bye-bye, see you later.
This recording is for informational purposes only and should not be considered business advice. Opinions expressed are as of the date of recording and are subject to change without notice. The views and opinions of guests on this program are not necessarily those of Umari Digital and its affiliates, which together we refer to as Umari Digital. Umari Digital is not affiliated with guests or their business affiliates unless otherwise stated. Umari Digital does not guarantee the accuracy or the completeness of the data presented herein. This recording is for informational purposes only, and the information, data, analysis, or opinion it includes or their use should not be considered business, financial, or legal advice. Umari Digital shall not be responsible for any decisions, damages, or other losses resulting from or related to the information, data, analysis, or opinions or their use. All business decisions are subject to risk, including possible loss of capital. Individuals should seriously consider if a decision is suitable for them by referencing their own financial position. Thank you.